As the ice in the Yukon River began to thaw in the spring of 1899, Dawson City was still booming. That is, until the news of a new gold discovery was confirmed. Over the winter months, there were rumors that gold had been found near the mouth of the Yukon, north of St. Michael. As the rumors spread, hundreds made the frozen journey 1,500 miles downriver. When the ice cleared and the first sternwheeler arrived at Dawson, the rumors were confirmed. There was, in fact, a major gold strike in Nome, Alaska.
It was like a godsend. Up the Yukon River with the steamboats came word of a gold strike in Nome.
Immediately, thousands of people began fighting for a spot on one of the ships.
If you had gone up to Dawson City for the Klondike and you didn't have a claim, and then you heard about the discovery at Nome and thought, if only I can get there quickly, then maybe I'll have a chance at having my own claim.
Maybe this would be the opportunity they've been waiting for. Maybe this time they wouldn't be too late for a good claim.
Thousands of people crowded onto those steamboats to head down the Yukon River to St. Michael and Nome, where the gold strike was.
Prior to the confirmation of this new gold discovery, there were still thousands of people wandering aimlessly around the boomtown of Dawson, their hopes and dreams shattered, and for some, destroying their very will to survive.
What's really striking, if you see pictures of the gold rush in Dawson, you see thousands of people walking up and down the streets in Dawson City, and you wonder, what are they doing? Well, that's all they had to do. They had no chance of finding gold ground. The claims were all gone, so they were just milling around trying to imagine what they're going to do next.
Extra, extra, gold found in the Klondike.
They could almost hear that same paperboy voice they had heard a couple years earlier prompting their race to the Klondike. Only this time, they felt they had the upper hand. Although the journey to Nome was about 1,500 miles, it seemed as if they were right around the corner.
It was like a herd of elephants. Everybody charged off down the river to Alaska to follow the elusive gold.
And just as quickly as Dawson filled up, Dawson started to empty out again.
In the blink of an eye, the population of Dawson diminished significantly as an exodus to the new promised land had begun.
Once the news came to Dawson in August of 1899 of another gold strike at Nome, a lot of those people just picked up and left. So it's estimated that in 1 week after that news came in August of 1899, about 8,000 people picked up and left Dawson just like that.
Thousands and thousands of people replicating what happened in Portland, Seattle, and San Francisco when the original word started the strike in the first place. So here we go again, another gold rush.
A lot of those folks were, yes, the more shiftless laborers, folks the less fortunate, if you will.
There were anywhere from 30 to 40,000 people living in Dawson, and 2 years later, it was all over.
While thousands departed the Klondike upon the news of the new discovery in Nome, many stayed behind under the realization that they were in fact home. In the summer of 1899, the Stampeders quickly fled the land in search of new discoveries.
The 40,000 probably went down to about 10,000 as people go off to Nome and the next gold rush.
Around that same time, you had about 3 large mining companies coming into the Dawson area and buying up the small claims holders.
You know, the town sort of reinvented itself. Big machine mining started to come in, the dredges.
Massive dredges were transported to the rich creeks and were operational for decades. To this day, the remains of the beasts are still standing. Dawson City has a population of more than 4,000. many of which are late descendants of old-time miners.
They'll never stop prospecting. They'll never not stop from digging. Because gold is where you find it. It's not there, it's where you find it.
There are people like John Gould, who was born here. There are other places that he has admired, but there's nothing that will replace Dawson for him. And there are many families like that.
John Gould's family has been in this region of the world for the past 100 years, and his contribution to the preservation of the town's history is invaluable.
Dad was there 50 years. I was there 50 years. And my son, who's coming today, was there 25 years. We were 95 years on that one patch of gold.
We still get families every year looking for records because some uncle, some grandfather, some whoever came to the gold rush from all over the world.
Much like the boom towns of Seattle and Skagway, Dawson City is continuing to educate people on such a remarkable time in history. Almost more so with places such as the original cabin from famous poet, the Bard of the Yukon, Mr. Robert Service.
I wanted the gold, and I sought it. I scrabbled and mucked like a slave. Was it famine or scurvy? I fought it. I hurled my youth into a grave. I wanted the gold, and I got it. I came out with a fortune last fall. But somehow life's not what I thought it, and somehow the gold isn't all.
Robert Service's poetry is a clear and accurate representation of the hardships encountered along the Trail of 98.
From the big, dizzy mountains that screen it, to the deep, death-like valleys below. Some say God was tired when he made it. Some say it's a fine land to shun, but there's some that would trade it for no land on earth, and I'm one.
His poetry is kept alive by people like Fred Osen, heritage interpreter for Parks Canada.
To commemorate this sort of thing, there's such a mass movement of people. It really was the last great gold rush. The age of exploration pretty much came to an end with the Klondike Gold Rush. There weren't too many blank places on the map for people to explore that you could paint with whatever your imagination might conceive, right?
With the exodus of so many miners to Nome, Alaska in the summer of 1899, the Klondike Gold Rush has officially come to an end.
You know, we're talking about an event that was world news and is so well documented because of the commercial photographers and the newspapers that were here at the time.
I think it's very important. You know, we have to know about our history. We have to preserve our history. Otherwise, in some cases, we may be doomed to repeat it.
And it's important for us to preserve these things just as a testament, for one thing, of the tenacity of these people, the great folly for gold, I suppose.
I can't imagine that we would ever see that again. It's a huge episode, certainly in Canadian history, in Northern history, and in Alaskan history.
Just important to learn these lessons, to understand how other people live their lives and what we might relate to that for ourselves today, for the benefit of all Canadians, all citizens, for many generations to come.
It was early spring 1899 that the new stampede was steadily moving toward Nome. Sternwheelers moved down the Yukon, pushing their way to the Golden Oasis. Hope was once again restored as the struggles the stampeders endured began to fade away. As the thousands of men and women from the Klondike arrived in Nome, they were greeted by a small town filled with hundreds of miners who had already staked claim on most of the available creeks in the region. While gazing off over the horizon of the Bering Sea, contemplating life as they knew it, a miracle was about to occur.